You're listening to the Karmic Mirror podcast, where we explore the wisdom tucked within the layers of the self-help world.
Together, we bridge the gap between esoteric teachings and practical tools for everyday life, with self-love and personal growth at the heart of each conversation.
Whether you're a seasoned seeker or just beginning your path, join us and uncover the magic within and around you. Hello and welcome back to Karmic Mirror. Hi, Allie.
Hi.
Hello. Today's episode is, kind of just a reflection. We were thinking about just the time of year. It's January. It's still really the first weekish of the calendar year, and we're in the winter season. And with that comes so much. I think for me, I was thinking about all I see online of what we are quote unquote supposed to be experiencing now in winter. And a lot of it, of course, draws on ancient wisdom. And also, we live in a very modern world. And so I think it can get confusing because I see January being framed as this in between kind of space rather than the starting line. Although, yeah, I don't know. There's elements, I think there's more nuance to the conversation. And that's what I think I most was interested in, because for most of our lives, January has always been the start of the calendar year. It's a reset almost, right? It's like a collective reset in our psyche and in the way that the world
Yeah.
operates now. But also we're told over and over, and if you want to frame it this way, as more and more people, maybe you hear the words awaken, but I think as more and more people start to pay more attention or remember or start to or look back to the past of how people lived and how people were more in tune with seasons and with nature, and didn't necessarily try to control time and control nature and control the globe, but rather assimilate to it, I think, and just live in a more harmony. Or not that that was the case throughout history, but I think there's a lot of wisdom there. So, with all that, if we're being told winter and January, the start of this calendar year, isn't in fact a time to set intentions or to set goals, I should say, or to take rapid, intense action forward, because as a season would show you, it's cold. We're moving slow. And in this book I'm reading, where she's stranded on an island in the winter season, she sleeps more and eats less to preserve her energy, and because there's less access to food.
Well, right. When you get down to just the logical
Mm.
of it all, of we're the only animals, because we are, that don't do XYZ, that the rest of nature and animals continue to do. It just blows my
Yeah.
mind a little bit.
Where
Yeah.
do you land? What do where do you find yourself in that space where we're being told it's a new year, new goals, and then we're also seeing more and more of like, actually slow down, rest. What do you do and where do you land? And I think it's fun to just talk about all of the nuance and
Yeah.
the pressure, make believe pressure to do
Mhm.
anything.
Well, and I think we started, I mean, I have some New Year's rituals that I now do, but I think we started talking more about this conversation because Kristen, who was
Oh,
on our podcast, right, was, what's your word for the year? And then someone on a dating app to me was like, whoa, what's your word for the year? And we were just reflecting about just even the pressures. What is it about just one day in time that, and even we know it to be true, right? New Year's resolutions, there's a high percentage of people that don't follow through. And I understand that whole beautiful marker of shedding and letting go and moving forward. And I think the pressure comes around from just letting it land. And when you and I were talking, right, I was approached with that question, like, what's your word for the year? And I just didn't have it yet because I'm in ritual doing other things.
yeah.
And then I went to a yoga practice. And she encouraged us to listen to 5 words just for the practice that she brought to the table, or we could pick our own. And I just thought to myself, worthy that she provided is such a good word. And then I was considering my end of year tarot pull, and my card for the year is star. And it just, to me, it was like shine,
Yeah,
shine. That was a word. And in conversation, you had also brought up, you said, I don't know if my word would be one word. I think it might be two words, and it might look like this. And herein is just an example of no right or wrong way to do it, but like giving yourself the space and time. And how many friends I even heard say, we didn't get to do it on New Year's Eve. I was like,
totally.
but
What?
you could still do it. You
Right,
just
right,
still
right.
can.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's funny when Kristen asked me, well, she didn't ask me. She said someone asked her about
Mm,
for the year. And then she asked, another friend of ours, and if we had thought about that. And we are kind of laughing about this manifesting generator, multi-hyphenate mentality and energy of like, oh, actually, we had a few words. There were quite a few.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, what I find too is that whenever I try to get really, first of all, I have no business getting really specific because it's just not the way I operate. But when I try to, and in the context of January and the season and the new year, I don't usually ever stick through with whatever I plan. I'm like, this is a nice idea. And then I'm like, throw it out the window.
Let's come up with all of our plans. We're in the mid of winter, and I know that's not everyone, right? That's not everyone's climate where they live, but where we're like deprived from sun, let's set our most exciting goals for the year.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And so over time, as you start to notice, and then you start to get into, the world of coaching, and you realize, yeah, of course, there is something about collective momentum. It's really beautiful when you see a lot of people around the world, all kind of hopeful for a fresh start at the start of a calendar year. It reminds you that collective energy when kind of focused towards something um, can be really impactful, and it can be really potent for, just infectious, I should say,
Juicy, beautiful,
yeah,
inspiring. Yeah.
in a really lovely way. And also what a lot of pressure to put on yourself at the same time. And so I think what I have started to shift into a lot more is this energy of kind of like experimentation and kind of a why not approach, because it is wintertime where we live on the Northern Hemisphere. Right. And yeah, it's like what pressure to put on myself to just know exactly how I want the year to unfold. That I have no idea. I don't even know what day it is of the week sometimes. And I was listening to something yesterday that was talking about how there really is time is such perception, and that we all live in one eternal moment. And I was like, yeah, I couldn't explain that to you, but I could tell you it feels right in my body. I think that's true. I feel that's probably very, very true. And so what's the rush, right? And also I've had so many conversations around urgency and fear. We talked about it in the inner voice. I talk about it with a client this morning. And what is the rush? And so when you start to question things, you can be a little bit more experimental of, if I had this whole season to really experiment and be curious about just trying on the different things, with sort of like, what's the rush? What's the pressure? Could I really emerge in the springtime when the rest of the world comes alive and feel like I've done all of this fun experimenting, and now I have a little bit more clarity from experience, and I can declare what it is I desire? The world around me, collective energy and momentum, is coming alive, and I'm feeling inspired to now go do the things.
Yeah.
I'm armed with like desire and real experience and playful experimentation, or serious, or whatever it is.
Mhm. I've started to use the phrase planting seeds XYZ.
Mm,
Historically, what I find is that when we have goals and we share them, and that's why I've wanted to keep goals so close. Brene Brown talks about this element of vulnerability and being able to speak it as well, right? And we'll keep that subject just at that of like, it's okay to say what you want and put it out there. And that way people know how to support you and that you'll be disappointed if you don't get it to some degree, right? And I was just really reflecting about the timepiece too that you were talking about. And we have this New Year's, so it's great times to make resolution and it's collective energy. And then in a lot of our networks in between you and I, we've been talking about last year, how it was the year of the snake, which is really about completion, releasing a lot. And then this year being the 1 year, the year of new beginnings. And also representative of the horse and fire. So initially, I was really tied to this horse energy, like, let's go fucking get it and fire. And just really using my 3 line in human design, pulling back again and saying, what we've got a lot of time to use this energy, girl. You don't have to like plant all the seeds now, do all of the things now. And then upon just further looking into it and being in this world and exploring it, this verbiage came as like a call to channel the horse's energy for shift, purposeful action, and to avoid just grinding, focusing instead on mindful, aligned
Yeah.
progress. And so that has become a real goal of mine is really that aligned purposefulness of it. It doesn't mean you're not moving forward, but like it's not the year of a bull in a china shop either.
Yeah. And also the Chinese New Year doesn't even start until February.
I was just gonna say that I had in my notes February 17th. So part of me just started going, so
So,
you still got time for that too, girl.
yeah, we always have time. And also, you know, it's like the saying, you have to go slow to go fast, right? You have to, and this is one of the themes that came up when we were putting together the outline for today of orientation versus intention, right? And orientation is locating yourself in this moment. Where are you, right? Like you're not solving, you're not figuring it out. You're reorienting yourself. Where am I in this moment? You're recalibrating. Like it's less about what should I do next and more about like what is actually here right now so that I can gather myself so that I can go slow now, do what I need to listen to myself so that when it's time to freaking go, I that much more attuned to my own pace and my own where I am, right? My own orientation. And the other thing about when you say planting seeds, right? To me, if you think about self-trust, planting seeds and really intending to, just to continue the analogy, it's like you have to trust that not every single seed that you plant is going to sprout into something. They all don't. I threw out so many wildflower seeds. You think I saw anything come through my garden? And over the past 5 years with this garden in my house, right?
Same. Literally, I've just been throwing seeds random places. It's like nothing has come to fruition from that. Literal flowers, people, not even.
I've lived in this house for 5 years, and every year something new, a different flower comes out, and I don't know where it came from. I'm no gardener. I've
Love that.
inherited a beautiful garden, manifested this garden, and again, did not know what I got myself into. And I have a lot of learning to do in the future. But when you think about planting seeds, right, like planting seeds, right, we're connecting, we're reorienting to what's here right now that I have. Let's use I have maybe done a lot of shedding. I've maybe just like everyone else come through a whole year where of change. A lot happens in a year. And so give me this moment to just reorient myself to where I am here right now, what's present, and not worry so much about where I'm headed. And I'm just going to focus on what's here because here I can connect with what I desire and what I actually really, really want that maybe I haven't allowed myself to say. I can plant the seeds and I can work over the season to build up enough trust in this, blip of time to trust that like not every seed is going to come to fruition. And the ones that do, those are going to meet me in the moment and I can run with it. I can do, like
Yeah.
every analogy in there, but it is such a beautiful moment to be like, what are the ways that I need to connect with self-trust? That whatever it's like that ritual of, and I don't want to discredit it because I just don't know enough, but burning each having those 13 intentions, right? You have to trust that whatever the last intention is what you will sow. That's the one you will work with and you will put work into. And you also have to trust that all of the other ones may come later on, but you don't get to control it. And so it's like such a cool nuance to just, it's also, I'm not focused so much on what it needs to happen around me. I'm just focusing on this one thing that I need to work on in myself to meet it. And
Yeah.
that's really cool.
I remembered why I was going down the Brene Brown pathway, and it all connects. Is That's what I've been really mindful of. Growth versus accumulation. There
Yeah.
was a theme distinguishing growth from accumulation. So, this vulnerability work and trust and feeling safe has been a big theme for me. Now, you throw in the dynamics of what we're talking about of just winter and needing all of these things. And so while I am planting these seeds, it's continuing to be really gentle with myself because yes, I want to be vulnerable and I want to put that energy out and have a beautiful community that can help me.
Mhm.
Now, what can pull me back into the pressures of these timestamps is really discerning, am I in a place because I know that people's natural tendency can be to want to help, fix, or just start doing the things like, oh, you should do this. You should call that person, or this person could help you, or have you ever heard about this? And now, while it's all really well intended, I think for me, what I've just really experienced is just making sure I'm in a place to just receive and not start going down these action items because what it does is two things. The accumulation is like introducing something else that now you're trying to work on, quote unquote, work through, or I lost my thought for the second thought.
I
Feeling very open head Ajna today. I've got it and then it leaves. So just this space of trying to be cognizant of going slow, taking my time, knowing that also I want to incorporate vulnerability and with that will come opinions, advice, and the pressures that come along with that as me being someone who wants to go do the things, right? Just show me this way. And I also see that in people with goals too, and there's nothing wrong with having expanders or people you want to thrive to be like or following their path. What I think can happen is that in those cases, that can feel very safe because you feel like someone's just showing you the path to do the thing. But at the end of the day, we're ignoring our own natural rhythms, our body, mind, and soul of what might be of the highest good. Back to your analogy of that, planting the seeds with not knowing what's going to come out the next year.
Yeah,
So
no.
we need to like allow space for energy to kind of do its work too and to give us our unique abilities to respond. All of those gifts. We need to lean into those because no one path looks the same.
Yeah, yeah. It's I don't know if this is the same, but I'm reminded of when you ask for something and then you get it and you're like, wait a minute, I only wanted the good parts of this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why that came up, but it was maybe something you said sparked it, but it's like, oh, I really want close, meaningful friendships and honest friendships. And then you get it, and they reflect back to you parts of yourself you're not ready to see yet, the vulnerability, right? The fear, the judgment that you're like, wait, okay, right? There's more work
Yeah,
to
well,
be
that's the
done here.
accumulation
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
is the response to me being vulnerable going to trigger more things that I need? Is it like me, a mirror?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also thinking of just the whole thread of earlier of this conversation is and the accumulation piece, if I'm like understanding it right, is do I don't need to do more, when I'm reflected, just going with this example of if I'm calling in and planting seeds, I want closer friendships, and then I start to see and have friendships or people in my life who then reflect back things that make me uncomfortable because they're doing what we do. We were mirroring back something to me. One, like, what am I making this mean about myself? Can I, like, and can I like, be
Yes.
more tender with it? But also, um, why do this urgency and pressure, again, back on this theme of like pressure, urgency, find a word. Why am I feeling pressure to do something about it when maybe I just need to look at it? I need to look at where I'm uncomfortable in this situation because I'm asking for this. I want this thing. And just because I want it and just because I'm worthy of it doesn't mean I'm ready to, like meet it. And you can receive at any given moment, right? It's not, you don't get to be like, I'm so ready to receive the right friendships. I'm totally healed. And then they show up. It's like, no, I'm probably my most vulnerable and tender. And they show up because that's how things sometimes work. And so, can I just be more curious again, like being the experimenter of like, can I be curious when that comes up? About, yeah, like what's this, like, can I be curious about my pressure to want to change or add something and do something different? Oh, I need to do this because, you know, I need to
Mhm.
reflect on this more and harder and get to the,
Yeah.
problem or the root of the issue of why I am the way I am, instead of just being like, actually, maybe I can just look at it and I can just in this moment learn to be uncomfortable in my own self-judgment or in my own fears or in whatever is being poked at me through this thing I'm asking for. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's what it feels like sometimes, right? And I totally
No, it does. It's like
get
this
it.
the urgency to want to get the path started. And I definitely understand that, especially if you think about now follow me on this. Michelle and I have started talking about working with and exploring specific goddesses. And I was listening to a podcast you had sent me today as I was reflecting on what we were talking about today. And there is this woman who has been exploring and written books and gotten degrees on Celtic and Welsh history. And she's been at this for 30. So if you just think about if I'm someone coming into the goal of, I really feel called to go down this path, create a sisterhood, go down this, whatever this woman's doing, I want to do what she's doing.
Mhm.
That's 30 years, right? So if we're always trying to, like, that's where the urgency I think can get in my way of like, they've got the path, I'm going to go down that path. But really, when you take a step back, you'll always be able to find examples of people doing it better, longer, having more knowledge. And so that's why I think for me, that pause really allows me to step back and be like, that's not my change. I wouldn't do it that way anyways. Like it wouldn't feel called to me. And then we get to say, hey, I know there's a lot of opinions and a lot of different pathways, but let me really, I like the word you used earlier, really recalibrate.
Mhm.
And now that I have all of this information, recalibrate for what makes sense for me. And that's the thing, you can apply that to so many things, even just like you and I were talking about, just being in bed during this time and taking care of our bodies and the coziness. And then what does that mean for our goals in our life and what we're trying to do? It can just trickle into so many different facets of life, not just year-end intentions.
Yeah. There, we had this in our notes, taking stock before deciding where you're going. It's probably a good idea. It seems pretty, it seems sensical. So then,
Yeah.
I mean, so much of, I noticed today, I knew this, but to be true, but today it really hit me. I was like, I'm pretty good at spotting patterns, like pretty laser pattern focused. And I don't know if I was naturally this way or if I worked at it, but I think it probably is both, but maybe more that I worked. I don't know where that came from. Where I was going with that,
That
but
you can see patterns.
yeah. I don't even know where that came up, but wow, I'm so open-headed.
Yeah, we're so open-handed. It's okay. I was talking about, I'm feeling it too.
Yeah, what were you talking about before that? You're gonna have a really fun time at it.
Maybe I just leave it. Here's our New Year's resolutions to just let things unfold as they are. Because now I forgot what I was, I remembered what I was talking about right before,
I
and then I
totally, and
lost
it
it.
sparked
But
that thought for me, but I don't know how.
I had it. And then I started laughing and I lost it.
If we're thinking of taking stock before deciding where you're going and how that makes sense, and also we still feel the pressure because it's collective energy and there's a lot of outer voices telling us, one way or another how to start January or this time of year or how to be. So I think there's a lot around just normalizing the discomfort of one not knowing yet, of the unknown. And like that's a big ask. But I think all we're saying, or all I've been thinking about for this particular season is that, like, okay, this thought just popped into my mind is when you're a kid and you're in the winter season and you're thinking about like winter break, and obviously we've passed that point, but when you're a kid, winter isn't, it has a totally different meaning, right? I hear so
1,000%.
in the winter here in New York, the number of people who are like, it's so dark, I'm so depressed, and seasonal depression, and that's real. I totally, I mean, I'm freaking tired at 4 too. But also when you think about this time of year as a kid, I have a friend and she's texting and she has little ones and she's like, it's a winter wonderland. We're in like a snow globe right now. And it is so fun. So as I think just that, it's like when you hold these really playful and joyful memories from your experience rather than just all of the
Yeah.
heavy ones, it gives you a little bit of this like cracks open this lightness where you're like, "Oh, you know what? Yes, winter is for rest. Winter is for, going at your pace, for tuning into your body, hibernating, whatever, all of the things. Yes, and is my approach to most things. Yes, and also, what if you were a little bit more experimentational and playful and less pressure and urgency to be this new version of yourself in this like
I know.
I can't even wear my cutest outfits in the winter because I look like I mean I wear the same sweatpants with like a pair of sweatpants and pair of sweatpants over them and
Yeah.
and my and you're stretching through the snow, so like what's the urgency, what's the pressure? Can we just let ourselves play like 2 episodes ago we talked about Black Moon Lilith and connecting with your desires. And I think that if astrology tells us anything, right, if we follow the stars, follow the cosmos and the threads, is a few months ago we were really thinking about what do I deeply desire that I feel shame about. And we're presented with this moment, this season every single year to kind of connect with that from a no a lighter pressure point and more of just curiosity. What if I tried out connecting with this desire in whatever ways show up today? What if I let myself, right? Like, why not? Nobody cares. We're all just trying to stay warm.
I'm going back to my notes after looking at your outline. The first thing I wrote was prepping. I even got triggered as I was thinking, it's just because I just want to be. I didn't even want to read this and start thinking about what I've done. And, I'm like, I just want to be right now. And to your point of just being more playful, is that I've really been exploring. It's okay to have a slower morning, right? And like, because who's saying it's not okay? And what is time? And also, there's so many hours in a day and all the things. And yeah, when the sun goes down, all you want to do is go to sleep or just get cozy. And one thing that worked for me that's been really fun is I close all my blinds in the living room because I don't have access to, I can't see any other rooms. And as soon as it gets dark, I close those and I just put a record on and I just stand up and just like move my body a little bit. And then I kind of start being like, what kind of quote unquote work do you like? What do you want to do right
Yeah,
now?
yeah,
Because and I have found so much energy just in not looking out the window at 4:30 and seeing that it's dark. I've kind of created this safe little bubble for myself to just play in my own world and my own kind of rules. And I have found myself quote unquote working and doing things till 6:30, 7:30, and not feeling completely drained. Where when the windows were open at 4:30, I was like, all right, time for dinner, time to wind down. And then you're like, it's 4:30. There's so much time left to do things. So that's just what I was thinking when you were saying bring joy in. And, you know,
yeah.
there's no ROI or checks being written on that behavior. But, what is it, January 8th? And I'm feeling like I've found a new place where I can get some momentum, and that's a pretty cool win.
Yeah, well, and there is a return on that on that behavior for you because, and it's still unknown, but just what's present right now is that it's like it shifts the way your energy moves and it shifts the way your mental energy, emotional energy, all of it.
I mean, it's so generator. I can feel how just sharing that shifted my energy right now.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that. I just think, I don't know, I think there's a part of me that is just always supposed to have and bring some kind of like, why not energy to a lot of things or kind of, and so yeah, it just feels very right. And the other part about the nuance is that to your point, there's so many, yeah, like we're doing a lot of stuff in our day-to-day life. Like there's a lot of stuff happening here behind the scenes and I have energy for it, but also, thinking of just this like the being in bed in the mornings, it's you could reframe just about anything. You're like, oh, if there's it's lighter earlier, there's more time during I should wake up earlier and do things and all of that. And my other question that always pops up is like, well, when else am I going to be able to snuggle in bed and be cozy in the
Yeah.
winter, right? Like, or in the when it's cold
Yeah.
outside. Why?
I had the thought the other morning where you had shared on one of our episodes and you continue to share your morning practice of putting hand on yourself and with the
Mhm.
mantra, I'm safe. And the other morning I had this click of, oh my God, like I feel safe. I
Yeah,
feel safe, cocooned and cozy and how I sleep and when I'm awake. And so that's also important for an emotional authority, like literally feeling safe. And so just being open to, and I think it did start with you sharing your practice and me just in my mind. And I had started like putting my hand, and it just didn't feel, I think just for me, what is important is to just literally feel it and just sense it. So again, just really cool how, and that's been when was that episode when you shared that? So it's like taken a couple of months for me to really come to this new place of integrating what a practice that I admired and I could see was beneficial, how that could best be suited for me.
it's so subtle, but it's so real, right? Before we hit record, I was talking about something else and just how in those moments when you start to question, is what I'm doing enough? And that could apply to so much. Or am I, this idea of enoughness. And when you take even just the time to tell yourself to reassure yourself and you build that up in your body and over time, you have this like instant reply of that question of like, is what I'm doing enough? But you've built up that you're like, okay, and you've been telling yourself, I am enough here. I am safe in what and so you've built up this stronger, not to keep going back to the inner voice from last week, but it's like you've built up this stronger inner voice that is able to reassure yourself, like self-validate in those moments, and just bring you back to again further from that sense of urgency and pressure to act now because you just don't need to be in that space. And so
And my intention, you had mentioned the rituals. I did two different burn downs to the calendar year. And my intention landed at I am safe in all spaces. And I just found that really interesting how that seed, circle back to what we were talking about earlier, was planted even before 2026, right? And now, and when I read that, it just also was this like subtle wink and nod of you're doing it, you're doing it, you're exactly where you need to be. So that was kind of cool.
sure. I think this time of year, especially just the month of January, again, it's the start of a calendar year. And I do like reset moments. I was like always so excited for the first day of school because I had, it was just new, right? Or the first day of a new job. And as you get older, it starts to be like a mix of emotions because you also feel sort of like and I think this is like normal probably for many, many people. My guess is that along with the hopefulness or the like relief of like, oh, I have this moment where it's acceptable for us all to kind of start over, but you're also kind of like a little bit grieving this past year in so many different ways. You're grieving, what did I not do enough of? Where did I not hold up to what I wanted to do, right? Or where did I feel like I failed? Or also, where is like the world failing me in all of these ways? How do I move forward? Like there's grief for many, many experiences and layers of just being alive, in general. And so back to what we said at the start, right? It's like the idea of reorienting yourself, like locating where you are, what is happening, what's present right now. And if I can put the urgency to act and to know or have clarity before I've even tuned into my actual experiences, or why, can I put down the need to like make my self-reflection an action item? Could it just be, can I just look at this? Can I just be here? Can I reorient myself to where I am in this moment and let things unfold as they need to, or as they do? I don't know. There's just so much happening at this time of year.
That's what's been so beautiful, I think, in the pods. Yeah, is the unfolding. You're giving the opportunity. Even I just think about how funny it was yesterday when you and I have talked about exploring more about these goddesses, and I had this thought, you should pull up some podcasts about Rhiannon so you can start to, because that's a quote unquote goal or
Mm.
something we want to do this year, and just start pulling them up. And the first thought I had and how my body reacted is you do not want to spend the time going to look all of those up. Okay. And that's all I needed. I didn't like now. I wasn't going to say like ever and create a narrative around it just now. And then literally not even 24 hours, Michelle's in my text message thread sending me podcast episodes in my thread. And I think sometimes that is the unfolding, is that time can give us insight into like, oh, maybe it didn't need to be that hard or forced or pushed. And then even in, I mean, it sounds so little and simple, but in that moment, that builds self-trust, is that you
Yeah.
can be patient and you don't have to check the thing off right now. You don't have to even put it on your to-do list. Trust that if it's meant for you, you'll remember and come back to it.
Yeah.
And I also, what was coming up for me is that you and I aren't even in a place of like coming back to 9 to 5 after, the holidays
You're right. Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And so even as you were talking, back to that accumulation is that there's so much going on that, again, just that grace. Why do we make things harder on ourselves? I mean, we know why, but I think getting out in front of it is just what I'm feeling really called this season, is to be like that horse and just more steadfast, more intentional. And part of that is patience and just seeing how things can unfold.
I'm glad you brought up the self-trust though, because I think sometimes everything comes back to self-trust.
Mhm.
Giving yourself permission to enter the calendar year as whichever way you feel inclined to do, and not forced under any sort of outer pressure to do anything other than that. That stems from self-trust. And I think it can feel like this overwhelming or daunting concept of how do I learn to trust myself? It's through those little decisions that you make throughout every single day. It's the tiny moments that really do actually accumulate. And that's the kind of accumulation that I think actually matters, because it's those micro moments of like, this is the decision I would normally make in these moments. And today I decided to notice that and do something different, or I just decided to notice it. And every time I notice it, and I see it for what it is, right? This habit. Now I can like trust myself a little bit more in this moment, because I trust that I'm going to notice it. I'm going to catch it in the moment, even if I don't shift the habit, right? Like all of those tiny moments do build up, and they give you this layer of self-trust to where you can start the year and be like, oh yeah, if I feel like I'm going to kick ass and take names today on January 2nd, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to then do that. And if your energy isn't that, and it's like, I need to sleep until 10 today, and I need to snuggle, and I need to be cozy, and I need to trust that I have time to get to what I need to do, then do that, right? Like that's self-trust. And those are just one example, but I think we've just kept going with this same theme because it's present, it's
Yeah.
here. So yeah, I think it's like I had questions that I were just like through this episode were was sort of posing with what am I noticing that I usually rush past? And it's like so simple, but like, what do I try to bypass, you know? And I think it's those moments because, and I'm not saying me, I'm just saying in general, like
Yeah.
it's moments where we're, you know, where we're presented with little opportunities throughout the day to pay more attention, to locate where we are in the moment, to notice a habit or a pattern in our lives, and maybe just see it for what it is, or see it differently, or act differently, whatever it is. And those are some of the things that I think we might rush past. We rush past, you know, the idea that we need to allow ourselves the experiences. And that's what I mean about just using this time, flex into the different things that you're curious about. And because you're giving yourself space, there's a reason why a seed of curiosity was planted on whatever the things are, right? There's a reason why I felt like like I really wanted to just go on a classic literature reading tour this year. So sort of random, not really, but right, like just let yourself do those things. And I think it's really important to have, even using the G word of goals right now, is like I think it's important to have goals that are just purely for the sake of fun and because you want to do it, not because it's going to give you some outcome. Because the truth is, you're always going to have some sort of outcome from it. You're putting energy into something. And so why not put it into the things that make you feel, you know, alive, present in
Yeah.
whatever, you know, in
Because
whatever.
the list could never end. That's just the world we're living in.
Yeah. So lots of trains of thoughts, very floaty conversation today, I feel myself.
Yeah, like, are we in Aquarius? What's an Aquarius today? But my horoscope today did say you can have fun and be proactive at the same time. And so
Amen.
that felt like a really cool culmination. Well, let's get to our self-love check-in for the day.
It's a Mars Kazemi, sorry. Today I forgot we had the Mars Kazemi, which like I'm no, you know, astrologer, but obviously we know, no, not obviously, but you know, Kazemi is when the planet aligns with the sun. And so you have this moment of clarity, and Mars is this like action, you know, God of war. Take that with what you will, but we were just curious. And the moon is in Libra.
Yeah, well, yeah, it says today's Mars Kazemi is rebooting your courage, willpower, and stamina, but this isn't about rushing or proving yourself. All very in these themes that we're talking about today as well. So, yeah, just really connecting those dots. It's so cool. All right.
Self-love check-in. Okay, what are you loving right now in this season? It's not so self-love focused and just more broad of like, what's lighting you up? What are you loving? What's feeling good, juicy, vibrant, what have you in this moment?
Yeah, I think being in an era of having zero qualms about, I don't have an answer for you right now. I don't have that answer, and just feeling, I mean, have we seen the Ashley Judd stuff going around, like the We Do Not Care Club? Like
No.
that's kind of
I
lighting me
never
up.
know what's going on.
Well, I think we have, which is part of our strength. We have very similar yet very different algorithms, and sometimes,
The
but
most different algorithm. Yeah.
yeah, it's geared toward, it started, I believe, because just all the things going on and the perimenopause and menopause age
Okay.
women, and just like we don't care. We don't care what our hair looks like. We don't care, like, and so people, it's become kind of a trend. And that's kind of just what I'm obsessing over right now, is just in the moment, like, why do you care so much about XYZ? And just really taking the time to be present and not letting anyone else rush me and feeling like I have to say jump how high to everyone's suggestions and opinions and just having those moments of every time I'm saying you should, just coming back and being like, who says so? That feels very energy right now. So that's kind of what's lighting me up and just trying to say yes to more things. Yesterday, obviously, I, well, obviously for everybody who logged in at 7:30 to
Oh,
Chelsea's
yeah.
live Peloton class yesterday. But those types of things where it was like, oh, the logistics I could have gotten so hung up on of you have to be there at 7:30. Old Allie would have a week before mapped out everything and just taking the moments to be like, you're meant to go do this. You've been calling this in, you've manifested this, and let's just trust everything's going to fall into place. And you can make a decision the day before, a night before, and it's all going to work out. And so, as an emotional authority, when those things come to fruition and in the moment, that's when I'm really feeling lit up. And just that obviously because I'm in community. So the more I'm involved in spaces and community that feel like full circle based on all of the shedding that I did last year in all of the areas, that's where I'm really feeling lit up and leaning into. What about you? What's lighting you up? What are you leaning into on in that area?
I I know, I feel lit up about this, like, how do I describe it? It's like this push and pull feeling of excitement and challenge that is on the horizon, that's very present, but also on the horizon. So, for context, we are soon to be antique store owners,
Yeah.
all of the things, and more to that. But what feels most exciting is when I'm in moments where I know that there are challenges ahead for me, and I feel equally capable of rising to the challenge. It's like this such a cool feeling because it's this like flipping of feel the fear and do it anyway. It's like, no, I'm like feel so it's not even a matter of feeling prepared or like those things. I'm like, yeah, duh, of course I am. Like, I already know I'm so prepared. Right, you have this confidence,
Yeah.
big challenge, while also knowing very well that I can't control and I won't know what the challenges are until they come, and that it's not all going to be pretty, but it's all going to be really beautiful. And I've been thinking about that. I think this is like the second time I've heard myself say this, like, sentiment of like, it's not all pretty, but it's always really beautiful. And I don't know
I
where that,
love that.
but it feels very exciting to know that you're on like the precipice of, like, to me, challenge in those ways. You can't control the ways you're going to be challenged, but there are certain areas of life where you know that the challenges are for you, and that and that you're capable of meeting them, that you're not alone in meeting them. Because I had, where I maybe am not savvy, or I don't, or I need, I have the people in my life, I have my husband, I have you, I have people in my life who I can um bounce ideas off of, who I can hear their perspective. And so there's like, it's just such a really refreshing and invigorating space to be in, because it's not like falsely optimistic. It's very, very much in my comfort
You've
zone.
never done this thing
Yeah,
before in this
yeah,
location with your husband, and
totally.
the stories we tell ourselves that we shouldn't make any quote unquote mistakes or we should be able
Right.
to have it all figured out. But I'm getting chills when you're talking about really just that confidence in I cannot over prepare right now for what I don't know is
That's
coming.
exactly it. But like, I trust myself. I trust that right? Like, I have an trust, and that it's just, it's such a beautiful, again, manifestation and embodiment of things that I have worked on throughout the years, right? It's like so lovely when you can see the work in action, or the work take, like be in something that you can see that's not maybe not tangible, but like it feels like it's tangible. You're like this.
Yeah, and that's why I start clapping and cheering.
Yeah.
I just feel as though, I mean, this is definitely you and your husband's thing. I'm not throwing myself in third wheel, making this about me. And our relationship has been as such that I do feel as though I've been around since the planting of this seed before it even, and we won't get into all of the details. And so to sit here and get to, I get the privilege of getting to see you during our recordings. And those are the moments where I was talking about earlier, where you see it all come to fruition because seeing you, and you certainly have shared the back end of
Yeah.
all of the thoughts and feelings and things that have come up for you around this. And so to see you in this place of such confidence and just being really present and letting things unfold is really cool to have witnessed, and I feel very honored to be on that journey with you. And I was listening to a podcast with Tim Ferriss, and this like really just it's something that just really clicked for me is that the sentiment of we spend more time in fear, fearing fear, than we actually are in fear. So
Yeah.
spending that time so scared about, like literally feeling the feelings of fear around having to face fear.
Yeah.
And that's when you were talking, that is that a place that I'm really happy that you're in, because that could be fear and that could also be, I know I don't have all the tools, but I have set myself up. I may not have all the knowledge. I may have never experienced that before, but I have set myself up to be confident that I have the tools, the resources to be able to figure it all the fuck out.
It feels like such like me, I am a real lover of not strange, but like strange lover of history, and I just the amount of time I spend.
I love it.
I love it, and I love history throughout many, many cultures. I mean, so it feels like this embodiment of this very like, and not even comparable, but like I think of Amazonian warrior princesses, goddesses, right? Like queens, like Amazon warriors, and just like Athena, right? Or, all of these have been dipping my toe and getting more into studies of Isis. But there is this element of like, that kind of warrior mentality. I remember a couple years ago, I was really intent, and I still love this mantra, but there's this mantra that I need to look it up because it's so good, but it's a Kundalini mantra. And basically it was like arming yourself, like you're in this regal armor. And I've kind of like held that through the last few years and not really understood fully how it would really feel. It was just something that I wanted to continue planting
Yeah.
the seeds of that feeling of feeling like so in my like I'm yeah, this fierceness, right? And I'm feeling these glimmers of that energy, and it is totally different than what I expected it to look like, right? Like, and there we could go on a tangent on this, like whole other pathways, but I think in regard to this idea that you're like, oh, working with a goddess and being, I don't relate to like channeling, but I'm thinking in terms of this world and being like, where do I stack up? Because I'm not as mystical as, how can I go into these like experiences and relate to this feeling that I so want to embody, but in my own unique way? And so, like, it's really cool and fun to start to see glimmers of like this feeling of my like Amazon goddess, warrior woman embodiment that maybe I've meditated on a lot and that I have
Yeah.
really visualized. It looks wildly different in my modern day, Michelle's daily life.
Well, that's the thing. This is evolution. And
Totally. And it's like, and yet I sense that energy and it feels really exciting and fun to be in. And the other thing I'll say that you made me think of was people who are manifesting generators or the multi-hyphenates, right? It's really fun. And this could apply to all energy types, but I can only speak for myself because I'm a manifesting generator who, we haven't talked about human design in a while, like really, really talked about it or done an episode. We had so many to begin with.
I was like,
We were like,
as a topic, we
yeah, yeah,
haven't
yeah, as a
had a
topic, as a
human
topic.
design thing.
Because, we were like, are we becoming a human design podcast? Or, so we were like, we're not quite
But
there. So
don't get it twisted. We talk about it a lot in
we
our
don't have a
personal
lot.
and
But
yeah,
if you have it, the manifesting generators in a nutshell as an energy type do have energy in many different places. I think it's like this very bento box kind of like feeling where, or having multiple kind of plates on the, or, spinning but that looks very different for everyone. But I will say that it's really cool to see and also to be, again, from personal experience, a non-specific manifester, meaning like I don't necessarily do well with mapping out my manifestations or what I really want. It's so much as a feeling, or more so than ever, it's I didn't know that was the thing I really wanted until it showed up, right? Like, oh, there it is. It's a surprise, right? And I have to trust the unknown with that. But what I was thinking about for manifesting generators, it's really cool to observe the ways that if you trust that I can put my energy into the many different things that I love, even if it makes no sense, even if in this day and age you're like, I'm not going to make any money doing this one thing, but I really want to keep doing it. I want to keep putting energy, or it's like not consistent income, or maybe this is not the way I envisioned all of these different passions to look in my life. I wanted them to fit this neat little box. If you can relinquish all of that control and start to like just see what happens, fuck around and find out. We've definitely now we're R-rated, but or whatever the rating is. But if you can just trust a little bit and start to build that, right? And then lose track of time and tracking how you're doing it, but just let it happen. You start to find moments where you step back and you're like, oh, I am manifestor generating the F out of my life by doing all these different things. And I'm plugged into all of them and they feel really satisfying and light me up. And they don't paint and they don't have to tell the perfect picture of what you've seen before, because you're not here to do what you've seen before. You're here to be surprised and to like experience the unknown and let it fall into place. And it does. And it just more times than not looks different than what you expected, because you can't imagine what to expect. It doesn't exist until you just do it. And you don't,
Yeah.
right? Like it's so fun. And I think that's the exciting part about this, to bring it back to January of this time where you're like, can I just take stock of what is here? And it doesn't have to be this deep, mysterious process of self-reflection. I don't even, you don't have to have a pen and paper. You can just like let yourself, whatever, talk about it with people, but just
I literally I've been putting on the Eras tour just because I love specifically her Reputation tour because it's just so fucking badass. And when you're talking about evoking, now this is how I work with energy is a lot through music and archetypes. But when you were talking about these like Amazonian women, there's one sequence and it's all of her female dancers, although that does shift biological female dancers, but you're just seeing such different examples of women and how they are, of course, as dancers and entertainers, but showing their version of what a really badass go-getter female. And I just have these visions of it all looks different. And so
yeah.
like I love this idea and it's why I love working with women, with you and all of the other people who I partner with or I'm friends with. And I've shared this a lot and I know it's kind of geeky, but it's almost like in that Reputation sequence, it's like I envision people like you being next to me as that Amazonian like goddess, like walking in front of me. Because who says you can't be
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Right? Like because it's 2026, y'all. Like life has changed.
And if life is truly, I mean, if time is truly one eternal moment, then it's very possible it's existing on the same plane. We just can't see.
And is this an on that note?
Yeah,
Thanks for
totally.
listening in, everyone.
And on that, great conversation.
Thanks for tuning in. If you resonate with today's conversation, connect with us on Instagram at Karmic Mirror Podcast and send us a message.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're loving Karmic Mirror, we'd appreciate a glowing review or a share with someone who could benefit.
As we close, remember, life is not a one-size-fits-all approach. How are you honoring your unique path? Stay curious and always be kind to yourself. Until next time on Karmic Mirror.